Welcome to Biloxi City Council meeting Tuesday, May 28, 2019. I need a motion on the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lawrence, second by Dr. Tisdale. Any questions? All in favor? 7-0, motion carried. Mayor report.
Thank you, Mr. President, and welcome everyone to our meeting. We kicked off the summer with a pretty successful Memorial Day weekend. I think Kenny, y'all were probably booked pretty good this weekend. We had some great activities, and like I said, it was the start of a good season. Today we had for the last week or so we've been talking about the Bonnet Carré spillway and the impact to our Biloxi. Councilman Newman was there today at a group of the mayors and supervisors, as well as folks from the DMR and the Gulf Coast Research Laboratory, talking to those issues and kind of developed that, the issue is that opening, it's the second time, and it'll be running for about 40 more days, or 40 days to match the first part, and then talking about possibly the Morganza spillway coming up. But definitely from the Mississippi standpoint, there's absolutely no benefit. It benefits New Orleans primarily, and only harmful impact to us with regard to all of our species, and will take a significant amount of recovery. And so it was a good first meeting. We'll continue to craft a message and send it to DC and the Corps of Engineers that will possibly come up with a solution. But it's just not good for us, and it's not good for our industry and our coast that we all love. But it was a good meeting, and we'll follow up and keep everyone abreast of that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, we're going to move on to departmental report. Oscar Renda to give us an update on infrastructure progress.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Matranga, Project Manager for Oscar Renda Contracting.
Do you really?
I'm start on the west end of the project and work my way east. We are currently installing sewer on Forest. We will be finished today or tomorrow south of Division. We still have a few weeks left to go north of Division, but we're installing the sewer both north and south on Forest Avenue. When we get finished, we'll begin installing the storm drain south on Forest, south of Division, this week, and should be finished with that within a couple of weeks' time. It's not too deep. But we did have issues installing the sewer just because of the depth, and encountered a whole lot of running water and sand. Then once that drainage is complete on Forest, we'll go to Benaki and finish installing the storm drain on that street. We finished up the storm drain and structures on Strawberry. Over installing sidewalks and driveways on Bone Street. We've installed the base course of asphalt there, and we're now installing sidewalks and driveways. We are on Elder Street installing the storm drain structures. We have started on Walker, moving our way, starting at the east end of the street, working our way west on Walker. We have two crews there, structure crews. There's a lot going on that street right now. Today we're installing base course of asphalt on Esters from Spanner to Main Street. That'll leave the only section on Esters that doesn't have pavement after today will be just that little section from Main to Lemuse. And we're working in the CSX right away tomorrow to to remove some sheet piling and to do some work in the ditch along there so that we can install the base course of asphalt there and complete that. We're installing we're installing curbing on Fayard today, with anticipation within the next week to put the asphalt down on Fayard from Elk to Elder. We are installing surface course of asphalt all over. After this week, we have one more lane left to do on Division Street, and that'll be done tomorrow. And we'll have all of this section we have all the surface course down in SXSN, and then it'll complete DIV 1 and 2. And so then we're going to GRN 4 will be the streets that we hit next. But we're getting a lot of surface course of asphalt down. And I think that's about it. Any questions?
Okay, any questions, Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah, you never ever talked about Just Secool. Y'all have to do Just Secool?
No.
So
It's out of our contract.
That's not part of that?
No,
So
sir.
how about the top part of the port, about a railroad track of that? That's,
No, sir, there's a cutoff spot right there. Okay.
so all that's no problem. Once you finish up Forest and Bannack, that pretty much to take care.
Yeah, about 3/4 of the way up on Porter is where the project stops, and then on Forest, just north of Judge Secool, I
Secool.
think.
So, I just was wondering,
We're finishing up the sewer today or tomorrow on Forest. Then they have, so in about 2 weeks, we'll be back on Bannack to do the storm drain. Yeah, sewer's done, just storm drain needs to be finished. And it's installed from Division to Thelma, but then from Thelma to the railroad tracks, we have to install the storm drain.
do y'all have a lot of work left to do on Bannack?
It's some big storm drain,
On this side of the railroad track?
and it's pretty deep, so,
Okay,
yeah,
I know that's
it's
been a
substantial amount of,
problem right there, so.
yeah.
But that pretty much to take care of. You put blacktop down on Forest and Bannack, that's pretty much take care of.
And
I don't think
very
much
few
left.
streets don't have Forest, Bannack, Cueva, south of Division, and then that Elder, Strawberry, Fayard, Walker, those are the only,
See, you're not lucky because these people now they actually talking to me in Felix. Again, hey, how you doing, Mr. Lawrence?
what? Oh, what? Yeah, I got my sense of humor back.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Mr. Barrett, Mr. Glavin, Dr. Tisdale, Mr. Lemon, Ms. Newman? And I have one or two things. North on Main Street, from Bayview to Walker Street, is there an expected time to get started on it?
Well, the only thing we have to do there is pull up the temporary asphalt. So we're waiting to do Elder, Walker. When all that gets done, we'll tie in Main Street with that. But no drainage, everything's done. So we didn't want to rip up the temporary asphalt until we're ready to put the base down.
Okay. And, let's see. Okay, from Lee Street back, I know you got one more lane to pave on Division Street, but from Lee Street back, is there a time frame on that from Lee Street east? Final coat, yeah. Final coat and striping.
Well, we're probably going to jump from Lee Street. We're catching Lee Street north of Suarez, north of that little bridge, and then we're going to jump over on Bayview, Back Bay, and do that area. We're trying to close out complete sections at a time, and this whole area trying to close this section out, and then GRN 5 in this section. So Lee Street falls on GRN, it's actually in 2 different areas, but that's why we're doing north of the bridge. And so it's the next area, we're going here, and then this area up underneath the I-110, and then we'll get back to GRN 5, this area.
Okay. And I guess the only other thing is, I've been getting a few calls about the weed eating and killing, because there's a lot of dirt, plant, you know, if you can just do a little cleanup for us, because every
And
now and then that helps.
thank you for bringing that up. But yes, we are getting back on weed killing, landscaping, that kind of thing. We started this week.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, that concludes departmental reports. We're going to move on to council reports. Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah, we attended a Conference USA tournament, and once again, they was lucky. Southern went all the way through the bracket and won the tournament, so it made the crowds great, and that's a good thing. It's a good tournament to have in the city of Biloxi, because after the last game, we went to Mugshot, they must have had 70, 80 people in there. So it showed that they do go out and spend money, so it's a good tournament. Now, I only heard one thing negative about it. He said it's bigger than Cruising the Coast. Nah. Cruising the Coast, $25 million. I wish they could do $25 million in the Conference USA, but it's not. But don't compare 2 different things completely. But definitely having it, can have it again next year, is good. It's good for the city of Biloxi. And I had a couple of questions asked this week. Do we have any street sweepers? We never did do that, or you? Yeah, okay, a lot of people keep saying that. Well, how come we quit doing that? So I was just wondering. Talking about find out today. All right, and this weekend we got Blessing. Got a lot of good things going on, and we got Rusty Quay's boat race Saturday at 10 o'clock. Last year we was on the boat, and if Popo wouldn't have been talking, we might have won. But he talking and talking, I said, there you go, Popo. They left us, Daddy. So this time you better be on the money. Otherwise we're going to have another captain out there. We'll get rid of you. We're going to get somebody who can do something good, you know what I mean? And I know Robert Demons probably don't realize it, but I graduated in the 50s. They had high school not back there, Robert. So my 60th anniversary this weekend too. So what you do when you live long enough, you get to do all kind of good things. That's another good thing. Like I told Paul, as long as you're vertical, you got a shot. Thank you.
Yes, so we're going to be continuing the conversation of the opening of the spillways and the impact that it's having on the coast. So we're going to be having a expert panel meeting, and we're inviting the public to come in and put their input. It's going to be at the D'Iberville Town Green and Building this Thursday at 5:30. So I invite you all to come to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Newman. Mr. Demme? Okay, Dr. Tisdale?
Yes, they had a nice turnout at the Veterans Memorial Service at the VA Cemetery. That was Saturday, and the governor spoke, Congressman Palazzo spoke. Mike Leonard did not speak. The mayor, they didn't even let you say hello or anything. But I'm glad both of you attended. So anyway, it was a very nice ceremony. Hope more of you can make it next year. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Glavin?
Yeah, just a couple of things to report on these fundraisers for Officer McKeithen. The first one we had at the White House, and it raised $35,000. And we appreciate the attendance of the council members that were there. I was unable to attend. My grandson, the Croatian kid, made All-Stars, and we were having the kickoff for that. We followed that up this weekend with a ruck run, and again, if those of you don't know what a ruck is, it's a backpack with about 40 pounds of weight in it. Councilman Barrett wore his and endured. He'll give a report, I'm sure, on his report. But long and short of it, it was a very eventful day. It was a very hot day. Probably had about 150 people turn out for that. We raised a little money, and it was just, we said a prayer at the lighthouse before going back to Margaritaville. But that was a 6-mile ruck, run, walk. That was pretty fun. As the mayor reported, one of the most successful Memorial Days I think the hospitality industry has seen in a long time. No bad weather. Weather was picture perfect and hot and wonderful for people to get out and about, with Conference USA kind of overlaying things, and just a host of activities for visitors to enjoy. It was really, really great to see a fantastic weekend on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Next meeting, Donnie Handler will be here to do a special presentation to Chief Miller and the Biloxi Police Department. In association with the Ruck Run, we have a special memento to give to the department, so look for Donnie Handler at our next meeting. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Glavin. Mr. Barrett?
I have no report.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. And, okay, Mr.
I just want to
Lawrence?
say, when I attended the White House function for McKeithen, I tell you, that was first class. So hats off to the White House and their staff for doing a good job. It couldn't have been anything better. It was great. I'm sorry, I know you didn't make it, but I just wanted to tell you. I was waiting for you to do your report, but it was an outstanding event. That was great.
All right, thank you, and also attended the VA. And Dr. Tisdale, I miss you there for some reason. You usually there shining. Thank you. That concludes my report. Gonna move on to public agenda, citizen comments. Total allotted time, 45 minutes, 3 minutes per person. Would anyone on my left would like to come up and speak? Anyone on my left? Anyone on my right? Anyone in the back of the room? All right, that concludes citizen comments. Gonna move on to policy agenda. Ordinance A, Ms. Lucy.
Ordinance to amend Section 233586 of the LDO to designate the structures located upon 135 Seal and 308 Seal as City of Biloxi landmarks.
That was moved by Mr. Lawrence and second by Dr. Tisdale. Mr. Lawrence, any questions?
They went through the proper way of doing it, and they get their plaque, and they dedicate those homes as historical homes.
Okay, Dr. Tisdale?
I have nothing to add.
Nothing to add. Okay. Anyone else have any comments? That being said, going to call for the question. All in favor? 7-0, motion carries. Ordinance B.
Ordinance to approve a zoning map amendment to authorize a change from I industrial to RM30 high-density multifamily for property identified as 212 Raynor Street.
Okay, that was moved by Gaines, second by Dr. Tisdale. Any questions, Dr. Tisdale?
I think it's a good idea to have more housing near the downtown area, and I'd urge my colleagues to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tisdale. I also agree with you, Dr. Tisdale. Any questions from the council? Call for the question. All in favor? 7-0, motion carried. Resolution A? Oh, is that part of consent agenda? Oh, yeah, the consent agenda, okay. Okay, I need a motion on the consent agenda. Moved by Dr. Tisdale. Second by Mr. Glavin. Any questions, Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah, I know we met and everything with this bunch of A. My biggest problem with A is tying the same thing up, the city stuff into one group. Not really against the options. I have a problem with the same group trying to do everything. So I just can't support something like that until we expand ourselves, diversify. Can't do it one bag. Got to do different than that.
Which one are you talking about?
A.
He's talking about A.
A.
Option,
Right.
option.
It's just my opinion, so I just want to express that. That was the only problem I had with it. I just think we need another group, that's all.
Okay.
let me respond a little bit, but, you know, we put that on RFP. We have the lack of any kind of real purpose. The first time we did it, we went out, we asked, and there was nothing, no response that would significantly address what we think needs to be done. This does, and, you know, it's been vacant for a number of years, 10 plus, and the interest is here now, and I think we should move, you know, I would ask you to support this, this option for a year, and for the money. I think that will position them to go get real, serious players to go forward with our redevelopment.
Well, that's why I was looking for somebody to be serious. I mean, they have enough going on in the city, and we're looking at what they're trying to do now. I mean, they can't just keep trying to do another one and another one. They need to do something. That was my biggest problem.
I appreciate your position.
So,
Okay, anything else, Mr. Lawrence?
yeah, H. As knowing I just can't support that. I've just never seen enough. Kind of reminds me of the next site. Don't seem to get enough information from this. And I mean, if they bring in a lot of money, I don't know where the money's at. I need to see all that. But I mean, this is $150,000, and they're not even in session now. So why are they going to be running this for 3 months?
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
The reason why we did that, we're in the middle of a number of issues with FEMA and MEMA and OIG. Again, we've been very successful. Even after this thing, we're getting multi-millions of dollars because of efforts of that. You know, I don't think anybody will question that this kind of service is needed. And then the next question is, do you know of anybody who could better do this job? I don't happen to know anybody better. And I think without really getting out of line, but there are multi-millions of dollars that will be successful because of these kinds of efforts, and they'll be done by the end of this year. And I think Keith and Key Impact, you know, has their fingerprint all over it. So I'm comfortable. I would ask you to trust me for a few more months with this, and I think his work will stand on its own. Again, we feel like in the middle of this spillway thing, this kind of effort will be in DC will be beneficial. So, it's month to month for 3 months.
Which 3 months are we talking about? The next three?
June, July, and August.
And by August, if I understood, by August, we should pretty much be done, and we may not...
Who knows? I mean, but you know, but basically, I expect
Ain't gonna happen.
definitely, you know, multi-millions of dollars of benefit to come after the fact with regard to some of the Restore,
He ain't bringing that money.
BP, and just
bringing that money.
coinciding with the end of the governor's term.
So we're talking about June, July, and August.
And the portals for, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Or you want to speak on that one?
Yeah. Mayor, the only thing I would recommend, if either Mr. Hurd or someone could at least give us an update on actually what the efforts have been, where he's been, you know, what has he been doing each of these months trying to secure funding or support or whatever. And I think we kind of get these on the agenda sometimes, and yeah, we want to trust you and we do trust you, but we also need some information on what exactly is he doing, at least a summary,
Yeah.
you know.
He'll get him in here again, but I will tell you directly that, you know, it's could be $3 or $4 or $5 million worth of direction that will happen with certainty, and because of his efforts.
Thank you.
Now, Mayor,
Chirping about things.
Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to need him probably coming up in the next couple of months or so, because we're on the verge of possibly losing $14 million, I think is what it is. So we need that input, and we need that expertise up there, especially dealing with the FEMA projects that we got going on, especially in the east side of town with this infrastructure project. So we could possibly lose that $14 million. That will put a hole in our budget if we lost that money at this time. So we need that input and somebody who can work around it. So am I close with that, Mayor?
You're correct, 100% correct.
If I thought he could save $14 million next week, I gave him $20,000 a month.
Give him $10,000 a month. For 3 months.
You know?
The bet is worth it.
Yeah.
And we believe that it is worth it, but I think like Mr. Glavin said, trust but verify. Famously.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Russian said that, or Ronald Reagan?
Ronald Reagan.
All right. Okay, Mr. Lawrence, anything else?
This one, Jay, exactly what is this? Employees vacation, what are we doing here? A staffing agreement with Express Service for vacation.
Councilman, these are the temp workers that work at the gift shop and work in the visitor center. It just doesn't make sense with the churn to have permanent employees there, so we have always traditionally used temp employees that are hired out of a temp agency. So they're paid, we paid the temp agency for for those employees. They're not city employees.
How is that work and new benefits and new compensation?
So what is the Express Service? What is that? That what they work underneath them? Say again? How much does that cost the city?
Less than a full-time employee.
Y'all have to be less than 30 hours a week, is that right? 30? 13 hours an hour.
Less than a full-time employee, that's a $100,000 employee or $30,000 employee? That didn't work, Mike. Less than a full-time. All right, that's it.
Plus you can go anytime you want.
Mr. Newman? Okay, Mr. Nimmy?
I just want to note that upon passage of the consent agenda, I am in opposition to E, F, and G, Echo, Foxtrot, and Golf.
Hey. Okay, and that's it? Okay, Dr. Tisdale?
Yes, on item A, this is the option on the property across the street. I remember as a kid, you had the Elks Lodge on the western part of that, where the library was, before the library. You had the Elks Lodge, and then as you came towards the corner, what was that? Lucky Strike Bar. No wonder I didn't know that, but you did.
Look, they ain't on the corner.
Lucky Strike Bar, okay. But there was something there, but the Elks was not directly across, it was just almost, right? And there were other structures. And we also have other parcels that would be interested in selling if somebody came up with a reasonable offer. Could I get a list of those other properties just in a PDF form? I don't mind shopping them around. The other thing is, I read somewhere something that where the flagpole is across the street, there's it was a Centennial Plaza. I think they planted one of those oak trees there, the flagpole and so forth. And I know it's too early to tell. We're just talking about giving somebody an option for a year to see what they might turn up, what they might do. It comes back to us, and maybe something happens or maybe it doesn't. But I don't know how much of a concern that is, but I just wanted to throw that out there. There were expectations when those things were placed there or established. Okay. Right, that was a place to be. Okay. That's it, who knows? Okay, we'll end on that note, thank
The
you.
renderings that we saw, was like a three-sided shaped building with a courtyard in the middle.
Right, and I was thinking that's
Residential above
doable,
and so forth.
you know, I think it could be, okay, I was just curious about that stuff, and I don't know if those items involved any sort of consideration or anything. That's it, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tisdale. Mr. Glavin?
Yeah, I'd just like the clerk to note that I'll be recusing myself from items B, E, F, and G. And just a comment on J, and you know, just my opinion. I mean, it's temporary employees, and we're extending full-time benefits of vacation, at least, for them, and I'm conflicted with that a little bit. I know it's only $13 an hour position, but it just seems like a temporary employee is just that. It's temporary, and I don't know if I agree with extending vacation to a temporary employee.
I think what we need to do is provide the council a copy of the contract that we have with the temp agency.
Okay?
When we opened the Visitor Center, we agreed to use temporary employees for a long period of time. Well, while the economy was not so great, it was easy to keep good temporary employees. The problem we've run into now is that we get good employees over there that work for this temp agency, and the next week they get a good job somewhere and they leave. So we're having trouble keeping people over there. And rather than raise salaries, this is an attempt to make the package a little bit more attractive so that we can keep them in the position they're in. If they work, they get paid. If they don't, they don't. So all this does is give them a,
So,
week's
Mr. Creel,
pay.
let me ask this question, and I understand the reasoning, but if you have a $13 an hour employee without vacation, you add the vacation component to it, 1,000 hours worked, and then somebody comes along and still offers them that good job at $16, $17 an hour. I mean,
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that creates some fear in the people that work there is that the only way that I can get a day off is to lose the pay associated with it. There's always that chance that somebody's going to offer them a much higher paying job. But we do and traditionally have had good people working there. And we're essentially training them to go to work somewhere else is what it amounts to. So we're trying to hold on to some of those good people. Yes, sir. We have.
Can you say that again?
Some of these people have transitioned into full-time employees, not necessarily there at the Visitor Center, but they're,
Well, that was going to be my question is why not convert them to full-time employees? One, the temp service takes money out of whatever we're paying them. That would be a savings that would be transferred to the employee themselves, which would be a benefit to them. And then they could accrue vacation time. So why not just convert these good employees to full-time
well,
employees?
that is a good idea. And what we were going to do, Bill and I had talked about this, and what we were going to do was to actually, in the budget this year, ask for at least 2 positions over there that would be full-time and see how that went.
It's going to be more expensive, though, if you put PERS into it.
Yeah, the whole
Well,
package.
this is why we're discussing this.
Yeah, the process had worked. The process worked before, because what happened is that even with a temp agency, you don't know the quality of the employee that you're going to get. They might say all the right things, but when they get over there, they might not perform. And with a temp agency, all you've got to do is call them and say, this person is not working out, we need somebody else. And you don't have to go through progressive discipline and those kind of things to make a change. So, but I agree that we've reached a point now where we probably need to be looking at permanent employees over there, that we can train for the long term.
Given that they perform what we need now, but let me
That's right.
stay in mind that say something that this package that we have as an employee is one you accrue for every month, and that you don't have to work 5 years or 2 years. You work 6 months and you start accruing vacation at 1.5 days a month. You accrue sick leave at about 9 days a month, and some of this is compensable with no real limits. So, and the package again with regard to peers and also it's pretty significant. And keeping in mind with the 12 paid holidays and those things, you need to get 2,000 hours of work out of somebody. And that's again, this is an immediate kind of judgment that we can pick and choose who goes forward, but I think this plan is a reasonable plan for the work that's being done at this point in time.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask if we have a cost-benefit analysis done? I would rather, instead of entering into this, I would really like to know what it's going to cost the city in the long run, and even comparably speaking to what it would cost if we hired
This is
them.
what I would think we would do, was have a reasonable plan on how many folks that we'd have, and then looking at the package that we're doing right now with regard to the total package, and what if we converted half of them or 25% a year till we're at a place where we can sustain. But again, keeping in mind, we need 2,000 hours of work out of everybody. And you talk about you couple 12 paid vacations or 12 vacation days plus you accrue 1.5. I had to work 10 years to get 10 days, not 18 days a year. And that's what you get, 18 days a year, after you've been here less than 5 months.
Well,
But you accrue it. But that will be, wrapped up in this analysis.
Right, and so but that's a considerable cost.
Yes, it is.
If we're providing 18 paid days a
No,
year,
that's
we
right.
still have to supplement that labor that we lose for those paid days. So if I would ask the council if we table this, so we could get some cost projections on what it would cost the city.
To go another way.
You need to do something, because I'm not voting for it.
Well, let's,
And I'd be.
well, I'll move to table it until the next meeting.
Could we? Is that a move, you moving on it?
I have a motion on the table to table
Okay.
item.
Got a motion on the table, moved by Mr. Deming. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Lawrence.
Some discussion.
Any other discussion?
My thought is we're discussing this, is why don't we discuss this again at budget time when we're talking about positions, and look at it not just in isolation, but in relation to everything else we're going to be dealing with. I'm thinking I would love to revisit the compensation schedule, and the administration might as well, and that might be a good idea, not just to look for folks that we contract with, for contracted labor, but for all employees with the compensation package. So my thinking is there any emergency need, Jerry, for this for us to approve it? So if we tabled it, say, till sometime
Subject
in
to call.
July for that, or another month for
That would
that
be
matter, that'd be okay? Everybody's good with that?
Then I'll amend my motion to table the subject to call.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Moved by Mr. Deming, second by Mr. Lawrence. Any other questions? All in favor? 7-0.
Jay.
J is table. Okay, who else we got? Okay, where was I at? Dr. Tisdale, let's see, did we get to Mr. Glavin?
Yeah, I was finishing up.
Okay. Okay, you done? Okay, and Mr. Barrett?
I have nothing.
And I have nothing else. Okay, consent agenda been moved and properly second. All in favor? And I'll take the exception second. 7-0. I know Mr. Deming is voting against E, F, and G. Mr. Glaving is recusing himself from B, E, F, and G. Mr. Lawrence? He's voting, Mr. Lawrence is voting against A and H. Okay, Ms. Newman? Okay, and Dr. Tisdale?
I like them all.
Okay, Ms. Glavin, you already said, and Mr. Barrett? None, okay. Motion carry on all the above, with those exceptions. All right, we're gonna move on to code enforcement. Mr. Creel?
The first case on the agenda, Rochelle W. Abram, 257 Fayard Street, and this property is still in violation.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of Ms. Abrams? Anyone here to speak on behalf of Ms. Abrams? Going to consider that matter closed.
Item B on the agenda, Tracy Elizabeth Smith, 6133 Stacy Lane. This property is still in violation.
Is anyone here to speak on behalf of Tracy Elizabeth Smith? Anyone here to speak on behalf of Tracy Elizabeth Smith? We consider that matter closed.
Item C on the agenda, Charles Darren and Melissa Malfrey, 10251 Eagle Point Circle. This property is still in violation.
Okay, Mr. Krill, is that C and D together?
No, actually, D has been resolved.
Oh, okay.
We've had no communication, but D is resolved, C still in violation.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of Charles Darwin and Melissa Malfray? We'll consider that matter closed. And of course, D is resolved. Wow. Okay, we're going to move on to the routine agenda. I need a motion on it.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Tisdale. Need a second? Second by Mr. Newman. Any questions? George?
We got both of them in today. Walt, we got any good news? Keith, what do y'all? Somebody stand up and give us some good news.
Might have wrote that.
Oh, I forgot.
So glad you're not a surgeon.
Okay, any other questions by the council? Been properly moved in second. All in favor? 7-0, motion carried. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lawrence, second by Dr. Tisdale. Any questions? No questions, all in favor? 7-0. See you next.